Hey, pick 'em pie, big gun Brian Petrie, giving out the lot. One is mortal, you know it won't miss. Gonna take a shot, dog lock, that's the underdog. Yeah, they in the hunt, send them home, that's KO or submission. Yeah, somebody done, slime ball, yeah, that's the parlay. We gon' make it known. Pick 'em pie from MMA takes, yeah, let's get it going.
Boy, do not adjust your computer screens, your phone screens, your TV screens. What do you say nowadays? That is number 3 himself, Evan.
Yes,
Longoria. Guys, this guy's a sharp. We have done a show. We did it before, but it was not live. And our little competition that we do, Evan Longoria beat me. He fucking embarrassed me. He dusted me. This dude's a sharp guy. He has fucking done the work.
Hey.
We got Adam Lands, who is a friend of you.
Yeah,
I've never met the man, but he seems like an awesome guy. That's a goal of mine. Hopefully this year, next year for sure. Me, you, Adam, UFC event has to happen. He seems like a great dude. Follow him on Instagrams. Chat's busting right now. Justin, I wonder how many times in life he's been asked if he's ready to Eva. Too many, probably.
Yeah,
that's
too many.
It's insane.
That's old hat. That's old hat.
It's old hat. Like with me when I was a kid, you know, kids weren't very clever, but Petrie's from Land Before the Time was a bird. Hey, Petrie, can you fly? And then it progressed to, can you pee on the tree? And then I would just put these fucking hands on them, and then they wouldn't say anything else. You know what I mean? That's how it happened.
You had to have been bigger. You had to have been bigger faster than most kids.
I was the tallest kid in my grade up until probably 7th. And then I didn't hit puberty till like 8th grade. So like I got 7th grade, dudes started getting armpit hair. And they started getting those puberty muscles, and I was like, I'm a little behind here. Yeah. But in 8th grade, I got up, my head went big, and or my head grew, and I caught up with them. You know, high school was where I was at. All right, so listen, we got UFC 305, Perth, Australia, decent little card, full of Australians, full of New Zealand fighters. Some people are poo-pooing it. I think it's a great card. I think we're gonna have an insane amount of exciting fights. A little of the lines are lopsided, but we're going to find their spots. I'm wearing my Slimer tee. I'm excited about the slime ball. I'll get that at the end of the show. Evan's going to give out 3 locks as well as myself. And we're going to go through this thing real quick. Let me shout out the chat here. My boy Timbo, who I usually do the podcast with on pay-per-view weeks. He's in the chat. What's up, Timbo? Tatum Temple. She records all my picks on MMA Bet Tips. What is the website, Tatum? I forget. 305 is a banger. Let's go. All right, let's jump right into it. Enough talk. You know the man. First fight of the night, Stuart Nicoll, if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, which I am.
Is it? I think it's just Nicoll.
Nicoll? Okay, let's go Nicoll. Stuart Nicoll. He is a minus 230 favorite versus Jesus Aguilar, plus 190. I'm going to kick it off first here. I know guests go first, but I'm ready to dive in. I like this Stuart kid coming from Australia. You know, Australians MMA, back in the day, it was not good. There was like your Kyle Dokes, and you had a couple other guys, but they weren't great. Now it's starting to get pretty good. This guy's record, the first part of it was weak when he finished everybody, but he's finished everybody besides one opponent. It's coming off a nice KO win over an undefeated fighter in Nicoll Katana. He looked fantastic in that fight in round 1. I like this dude. Aguilar, been in the UFC for a little bit. He's 10-2. But I just don't trust him. You know, Tyra kind of embarrassed him a little bit, but Tassur Tyra is a stud. Then he knocked out Shannon Ross. Who the fuck hasn't? And then he beat Mateus Mendoca, who's a wild man, which I thought he might have lost that fight. Won a split decision. I like Stuart here, bud. I like Stuart a lot. If it wasn't his debut fight, I would put a lot of money on Stuart, but it's his debut fight, so I want to ease into it. I don't want to jump the gun. But I'm going to go with Stuart here. I'm fairly confident in this fight. I think he gets it done inside the distance as well. Evan, what's your take, bud?
Yeah, I looked at some of his fights on YouTube, and obviously I don't even know the promotion that he was in, but I don't know. It's interesting because the fights that Jesus Aguilar has taken against some of the guys, I think he has 3 fights in the UFC, and he's fought some bigger guys. This is a guy who's his size. Both of them, I think 5'5" and 5'4". And I'm just going to play the flip side. I think Jesus Aguilar here at the underdog money, especially with his experience in the UFC. I think that is going to be the difference. And I actually think he may get a finish, but if I was going to play anything, I'm probably playing him to win by decision.
I love it. Audio video quality is phenomenal. Thank you, Timbo. We got Mountain Time MMA. I'm going Aguilar just off more experience and better competition. Nicoll by sub plus 316 KO plus 520 on Fanatics.
He's not going to get it. He's not going to get a KO. I don't think Nicoll.
Aguilar's durable. He's durable.
He's durable, and I think you know, if anything, if Nicoll gets anything, it could be a club and sub. You know, I could see that happening.
Like that.
You know, the fight against Tyra, dude, he threw up a sick arm triangle on him from the bottom. Like that dude is next level. I kind of threw that fight out because and then he just starched the one dude with a one punch KO.
Shannon, I don't want to laugh at any. Listen, I respect every fighter that gets in the case, but Shannon Ross is. He has no business professionally fighting. He's a little older and he has no chin, and you're getting slapped left and right. But we can chuckle about it.
Yeah, no, I
love
that. I agree about the. Say again.
I'm muted. No, it was on me, Evan. Sorry.
Gotcha.
It's recording settings are just still live. Go to audio. All right, you got me back, Evan?
Yeah, I got you.
This browser sometimes loses connection. Anyway, Dog the Bounty Hunter loves it. I love that you went dog first. I like Stewart. I like what I see on tape. But yeah, Aguilar's a tough competition. It's a good first. This is all my end, Evan. This is you are. Here we go.
I got you now.
All right. Do you have me still?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, good. Sorry. This thing is, you know what it is? I bet you it's this fucking website. All right. This is what we do. This is what we do on MMA Takes Podcast. We fucking deal with tech difficulties. I don't know why.
We'll keep it moving here.
I got a crazy expensive setup.
Because I heard you guys on the. I didn't listen to the whole podcast of you on the Yannick and Florian because I didn't want to hear all of your picks.
Gotcha.
But I did hear when you came on, John cracked a White Claw or something.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna crack a Truly for him. This is the absolute worst thing that I had in my refrigerator.
Truly.
So in honor of your guys' podcast.
All right. Are you gonna slam it? Are you gonna slam it like John?
I'm not gonna
slam it. There it is. Yeah, John slammed it out of a glass, spilled it all over himself, and then grabbed the can and chugged more of it. He just wanted to get wild, and I appreciate it. All right, next fight. Keon Song, minus 175 versus Ricky Glenn. Don't say Rick. Ricky, add the Y.
Yeah.
Plus 145, Ricky Glenn, Midwest staple, Milwaukee guy. Just absolutely been in forever. Keon Song, his highlight to fame, he's a decent fighter, but his highlight to fame is when he dropped Ian Gary bad in that fight. He has some good striking, killer be killed kind of a guy. We'll leave with Evan on this one. Do you like the dog? Do you like Keon Song? What we got, bub?
Yeah, I don't know. I read and I'm reading that I saw that this is his debut at welterweight. He was fighting. Ricky Glenn was fighting down and he's got starched in his last couple fights. I think his chin shot. I think with Song's striking, I think it should be an easy win. I would play him by KO. But again, you know, that could change. I know sometimes when guys go up to a weight class that's closer to theirs, their chin could hold up a little bit better. Maybe they find their weight class and do a little bit better. But I don't know. From what I saw on the tape of, Ricky Glenn versus Song, the striking is I think his striking is a little bit more crispy, he's a little bit more durable, and I think he's going to be able to catch Ricky Glenn with something and put him out. Probably second round.
Second round KO. I love it. Tatum Temple's got some over-unders here. Over 1.5, minus 160. Under, plus 124. I like the under there, but I'm going Ricky Glenn. I like the experience here. Looks Keon Song against Kevin Jusay. He looked good. He won. He lost a decision. Kevin Jusay is a legit dude with good striking. He cracked Jusay quite a few times, but the volume's not there, right? You landed 62 strikes in a 3-round fight where Kevin Jusay landed like 134. We need more volume, but he picks his shots a little bit. I like that Ricky Glenn's going up to 70 as opposed to 155. The weight cut's not going to be an issue for me. He's a long-rangey guy. I do agree with you, though. The chin is worrisome for me. Song can crack. Glenn has been put out before, but he's also got that weird power himself where he can clip people. He's also sneaky good on the ground. Like, off his back, he's okay. But he's got some chokes, he's choking. He's a vet. So when you're giving me underdog, I can't go chalk the whole card. I'm good to go Ricky Glenn. I'm not overly confident. I'm not going to lock him up. He's not going to be my dog lock. But, I mean, we dance with plus money on this podcast. So I think I'm going to dance with Ricky Glenn at plus 145 or plus 160 is what Trin said. By the way, my guy Trin in the chat, he's from Ohio, lives in Arizona, and is an absolute war dog. One of the biggest supporters of this show, and a Florian, and a huge fan. And he's always in the chat, so he's a good
shout out,
and,
Trin.
And by the way, his name's Trin Wolf. I mean, can you get a cooler name than that? Fucking Trin Wolf. My name.
Shout out to his parents.
Yeah, if my name was Trin Wolf, I'd be fucking, probably a porn star. Next up, Tom Nolan, minus 1,200. Yikes! Versus Alex Reyes, plus 750. Tom Nolan, big, tall drink of water, Australian drink of water. And this is a guy who fell flat on his face in his debut, rebounded well his second fight, but he did get cracked a few times. Tall, lanky guy, has a lot of hype about him. People like this kid. He's fighting Alex Reyes. If you don't know Alex Reyes, it's Dominic Reyes. I don't know if he's his younger brother, but it's his smaller brother. And he almost died. He had a real bad illness and was out for a while. And I just don't trust him. He's been back since his illness or since his injury. I just don't really trust him here. At a huge number, though, Tom Nolan can get cracked. I just don't know if Reyes can do it. I'm not willing to risk it, put my balls on the table. I'm not going to put Tom Nolan in a slime or anything like that. The number's too crazy. You can play him by KO, which I think would be beneficial to probably, your bankroll. But I even think they're on top of the KO. Let me chase that line real quick.
Yeah, somebody get that line for us.
No props available for that fight on DraftKings right now. If anybody else has a prop on another book, let us know, because I think Tom Nolan by KO or some kind of finish is definitely live. DraftKings doesn't have a line yet for that. But who do you like? You going the big dog here? You dog hunting?
No, I 100% agree with you. I mean, Nolan can get hit, and he has been dropped. But in that fight that he did, I don't know who it was. His last fight that he ended up coming back and winning that fight after he got dropped. It showed chin, showed heart. I mean, he wasn't put out. Obviously, it was like a flash knockdown. But yeah, I don't see Reyes being able to get inside on him. I think he uses the long range weapons. He touches them. He's got power to put guys' lights out for sure. So I think he's gonna touch him enough until he finds that big shot and is able to put him out. I don't think Reyes' chin holds up. He got slept in his last fight, pretty bad too. I mean, he got hit with 4 or 5 big shots, and eventually the fight kind of got stopped on TKO. But he wasn't out, but it was a pretty bad knockout. And I mean, he's only fought one time. He fought once September 2023, and then before that was 2017 because he had that back. He had a spinal infection.
He got sepsis. Crazy stuff went on with him. And then if you the knockout of Charlie Campbell, Ray Longo's guy knocked him out his last time out. But if you want to see a knockout that makes you kind of go, what the fuck? He fought Mike Perry on his debut in short notice, and Mike Perry landed some of the biggest elbows I've ever seen. I mean, Alex Reyes needs to be nowhere near 170 pounds, and that was pretty brutal. But I agree with you. And someone, Justin in the chat said, Nolan KO minus 380. You just can't play it.
What if you play first round KO?
First round KO. That could be live. Yeah, and round one, Nolan round one minus 175.
Yeah, I mean,
so
still,
we're getting lower on the numbers, but still, Vegas is really loading up on this guy because of what we've seen on Reyes. It might be a pass for me. I don't know. I mean, listen, if you're looking for an absolute stone cold fucking lock and you have a huge bankroll and you win them a couple $100, sure. I mean, I'm not going to discourage you, but it's just, it's not for me. All right, next up, Jenkins minus 800 versus Herbert Burns plus 550. Herbie Burns, listen, I'm going to go ahead and be real. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be as truthful as I can be. Herbert Burns
this fight has changed. This fight has changed, I think.
Really?
I think it's Gavin Tucker. Is that Gavin Tucker or Herbert Burns? Was it
initially
Gavin Tucker?
It was initially Gavin Tucker. Yeah. So Herbert Burns wouldn't be sniffing the UFC if it wasn't for his brother Gilbert. It's just a fact. Herbert's decent on the mats. His competitive jiu-jitsu career was pretty good, but he's not an MMA fighter. Some guys just aren't. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Go back to jiu-jitsu. I know you have a nice little shiny record here with 11-5 or whatever. You do have some wins in the UFC, But Jack Jenkins is the guy I'm high on. He ran into Chepe Maniscalco's last time out, got his arm smashed up, got dumped on his arm, broke his arm or whatever. But this kid's good. He's got good leg kicks. He's got good striking. He's got good cardio. He's fighting in his home country. He's got a flowy fucking mullet. I love Jack Jenkins here. Vegas loves him. They're putting him at minus 800. Did he come down a little bit? Yeah, Herbert stinks. Yeah. Okay, so Jack Jenkins came down to minus 700 a little bit. I do not know who's put money on Herbert Burns, but just go ahead and send the money to me. Because, I mean, you might as well. It's going to go to good use. I'll buy my kids some shoes because you're wasting your money on Herbert Burns. With that being said, Evan, lay it up here. Take Herbert Burns and make me look like an idiot. Right?
No, I didn't even look at any tape on Herbert Burns because I still thought it was Gavin Tucker.
You don't need to. You don't need to.
But the only thing that I wanted to say about this fight is if you haven't watched Jack Jenkins fight, watch the Jack Jenkins versus at the Emmers fight. Man, that fight was that was the fight that I watched them to, and I actually thought he lost the fight. I thought Emmers won the fight, and that dude is super talented striker. Like, it was a really fun fight, back and forth. Like, Jenkins has a chin on him. He's tough, and I actually think he might. I mean, if he gets he could get a finish due to leg kicks. He's gonna
chop those legs up.
Yeah, and he's gonna force some bad shots. He could catch a knee. It'll likely be a finish, but I think everybody's expecting that anyway. But he's a lot like Della Maddalena in the sense that he can kick really well. He's a good boxer. He creates angles with his footwork. So yeah, I guess everybody. I mean, this is kind of a foregone conclusion. It seems like he should be a heavier favorite, seeing as Tom Nolan is minus 1,200 or something, and he's only minus 700 or whatever. And
he came down. He was minus 800 yesterday when I got this. So I agree with you. I mean, and I rarely agree anybody should be minus 700 really in MMA, especially a guy coming off a loss in Jenkins. But Jenkins, the one thing he needs to do, in my opinion, is everything you said is correct. Leg kicks, movement, but he doesn't have that killer instinct. There's times where he's been able, in my opinion, to be able to finish a fight. Herbert Burns is going to get tired. Herbert Burns is going to look for 100 takedowns, not get any of them, maybe one or two, and get tired. And his legs are going to be chewed up. You got to finish that fight. You can't let go of the judge's decision because you're up however many rounds. I want to see some killer in there. And some guys have that, some guys don't. Some guys will eventually get it. I need to see that from Jenkins because I do think he's a stud. I picked him against Chepe Maniscalco, and I was on the wrong end of that. Chepe was all over him from the bell. Even if the injury happened or not, Chepe would have won that fight. But I like
Chepe's
a
dog, though, man.
He's Chepe's crazy. I picked against him every time he's fought in the UFC. I was on his side last time against Damon Jackson, and I'm never going to pick against him again. I mean, unless he's against someone. He's so good. Jack Jenkins, second round TKO, parlay with Nolan, first round TKO. All right, Josh Buttrick. All right, I like that mount, man. All right. Herbert Burns quits after the second round once. Just put your pace on him and let him take himself out if you have to. 100%, Trent. 100%. I agree with all those. We're on the same side of Jack Jenkins here. Next up, Casey O'Neill, plus 130 versus Juana Santos, minus 155. Burns by sub is 10-1. Take that if you want, but I don't know. We're moving on, though. We got some chicks. Casey O'Neill, she was either born in Australia and raised in Scotland or vice versa, lives in Vegas now. Very interesting perspective of the world. I think she's a good fighter. She's lost 2 in a row, coming off a knee injury with the Roxanne fight, and then she's lost 2 in a row. Her comeback fight, she looked decent, looked like there's some dog in her. In her last fight, she got subbed, which worries me here. She's a dog. I know people like playing dogs in the female fights because they really pay out well. If you look at the analytics, which I don't have in front of me because I'm on a friggin' square, but female dogs pay out quite a bit. Where did Trent have that line? Yeah, so she's down to plus 120 now. Juana Santos, she's still a little green for me. She's 6-1 or 8-1, and I think her being the favorite here, it makes sense because I think she's gonna probably give Casey O'Neill problems on the ground. But Casey O'Neill, what I like about her, she has that switch where we were talking about Jack Jenkins not having the killer instinct. She's a bad bitch when she's in there. She's not shaking hands. She's not congratulating you. She's kill or be killed. And the volume's going to be up. And it takes a little bit to get back from an injury when it comes to MMA. No one ever fully comes back that first fight. Her last loss by armbar was a little ugly, I would say, and Juana Santos can snatch up an arm. So for the people who have watched the Anakin Florian, I am doing a pick switch here. I picked Santos on the Anakin Florian. However, I did not bet her on the place your bets, but I did pick her. So we did that on Sunday. It is now Thursday. I have since switched my pick to Casey O'Neill. I like the dog in this spot here. Give me Casey O'Neill probably by decision win. But I'm a little worried about some of the submissions Santos can throw up. But other than that, I think I got a good beat on this one. I like Casey O'Neill. Evan, who you like, bud?
Yeah, I think I initially had Luana Santos circle because I think that her wrestling is going to be superior for sure. There's just a little bit of tape on Santos, and her striking is not great at all. Now I don't think Casey O'Neill is the cleanest, most technical striker either.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she can catch Santos on the way in. With some straighter punches. Santos kind of just comes in with looping punches and tries to go for takedowns.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that part of Casey's game plan, O'Neill's game plan, will be to beat her with straight shots and avoid those. And in the who was the last girl, the judo girl that Casey O'Neill fought in her last fight, Lipski, Ariane
Lipski, yeah.
And she got kind of got pieced up on the feet and ended up having to go for the takedowns early in that fight. I don't think she'll have to do that in this fight. I think she'll just anti-wrestle and probably outstrike her. And she's good enough on the ground that, if she ends up on the ground, I think she can either scramble or get on top and be the bigger, stronger, more technical fighter.
Yeah, that's how I switched my pick a little bit too. I thought Santos maybe her jiu-jitsu was going to be a little too good for Casey O'Neill, but then I rewatched the Casey O'Neill fight against Ariane Lipski, Yarnari Del Silva, whatever her name. She has like 4 different last names. And I agree. I think if Casey maintains range and maintains her striking and doesn't get in these weird scrambles that are unnecessary, she should win this fight by decision, which is plus 250, which is a gorgeous number. I'm going to add that to my card. And then Alex Clemens knows. What's up, Longo? Did you hear BP knows chicks? That's true. It's taking over the streets.
We know that. We know that.
BP knows chicks. We're getting to the meat of the card now. We're getting up there. Josh Culibao minus 170 versus Ricardo Ramos plus 142. Evan, I'll let you lead the dance here. 2 strikers, 2 fun guys. Should be a fun fight. What do you think?
I think that if anybody has watched Ricardo Ramos' last 2 fights, they should play Josh Culibao by guillotine choke.
Yeah, right.
Because it could be a club and sub, but I mean, I make a joke about it, but he actually Ricardo Ramos fought I think it was a first round finish by Charles Jourdain, but he was fighting a pretty good fight, and then he dove in for a takedown, and two fights in a row he dove in for the takedown with his head on the outside instead of on the inside, and he got guillotine choked. So
yeah.
I mean, I think Culibao by decision is probably the best play here. I think he could put his lights out, but I think he's just a little too high level. I think he's just his striking is cleaner. He's better on the feet. If it gets to the ground, maybe he catches the guillotine again.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Ricardo Ramos has probably been working on that in camp, seeing as he's lost the last two times that way. But yeah, I had circled Culibao early on this before I even watched the tape, and I haven't changed. Yeah,
not to spoil the Anakin Forian for you, because I obviously encourage you to go back to watch it after we do this. Kenny breaks down the guillotines on Ramos really well. He's just like, high-level guys don't fall for that. It's a panic thing. It's maybe not a prepared thing. To lose it back-to-back times, something's going on there that hopefully he fixes. Culibao by submission 7-1. I'm on Culibao here. I'll probably poke at that a little bit. He's got long arms. He likes to strike and bang him up, but if Ricardo Ramos feels rushed, feels pressured, which Culibao does very well, he could shoot right into a guillotine. And, if you're losing to it, I don't know how much you can fix it, that often. You tell me, how is your jiu-jitsu still going? I mean, still training? Yeah?
Yeah, it is. And I'll get guillotined on the daily, without a doubt, because it's just something, if you don't train it a lot, if you don't train that position a lot, and especially if the coach isn't watching you, right? Because I work on shots and my head will be on the outside all the time, and maybe he's not training his jiu-jitsu all the time, or he's not training. I'm sure he is. I hate to say that these guys aren't training that, because all of them are on the grind every day.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, when the fight gets fast, right, and a guy gets clipped or something and he panic shoots, there's something that they go back to. And if that's something that he hasn't trained enough, and it's not something that's in his mind, clearly it's that move is in there already. So if he shoots for it, he could get caught in the guillotine again.
Yeah, and that's
which
what
would
Kenny
be
was
insane
saying.
to get it three
times in a row, right? I think he'd probably get his walking papers. And Kenny kind of alluded to that. He says it's probably not like a lack of training thing. He's probably a black belt, not really sure. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu train comes from a good camp. It's more like when he gets in there, it's I panic. I'm in this spot, I panic. You look at Alexander Volkanovski with one of the best guillotines in the game, Brian Ortega, when they fought. He didn't panic. He was going out and he somehow got out. So it's interesting. But yeah, I remember when I didn't do jiu-jitsu much. I was more of a stand-up guy, but I did train MMA for many years. And I remember after every hard wrestling, jiu-jitsu, grappling, MMA session, and I would get tapped out either RNC, guillotine, head and arm, whatever. The next day I'd wake up, my neck would be just so sore. Yeah. My neck's just taking a beating. Man, you got a fucking tough neck. All right, next up. We got Junior Tafa, -130. This was a pick 'em. I'm curious to see. Trend will update the lines.
Yeah, it's moved. It's moved now.
It's moved, yeah. Junior Tafa -130 versus Walter Walker, Johnny Walker's brother, +110 on Walter Walker. I mentioned this on, I think, my show or Anik and Florian's show. I can't remember. This is how much Evan Longoria is a stud. He texted me last week or maybe even the week before. Tape studying on Junior Tafa Walter Walker. That's how fucking sharp prepared this guy is. A middling heavyweight fight. He's like, who do you think's gonna win? What is it? You know what I mean? I love that shit. That is
I told you that the number on Tafa was too good. It was a pick him at the time. I'm like, he's gonna starch him.
And we'll leave with you. Do you think you still see that? You think he's gonna knock him out?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I read an article earlier while I was reading some stuff about, and the guy had chosen Walter Walker by decision, and that very easily could happen, right? Because he's gonna try and get inside and go for a takedown, and whatever. Mm-hmm. Like Tafa could gaps, which is very likely. Like if he gets a takedown early in the fight and he's laying on top and Tafa's having to anti-wrestle the whole time to avoid the sub, then Walker very easily could win the fight in round 2 because Tafa's gassed. But I just think Tafa's too quick with his hands on the feet, and his kicks, I think his kickboxing is too good. And Walker is just not a striker at all, which is weird that I didn't know he was Johnny Walker's brother.
Right.
But I mean, I don't think they could be any different in body type or like the way that they fight,
I told John, I don't think they look alike, and John has met them both in person, and John's like, I can see it. I don't even think they fucking look alike. I think they have different parents, but somehow, I mean, Johnny Walker, his name's Johnny Walker, and he's Brazilian. That to there right there is kind of weird to me, But you're right. Walter Walker, he landed 4 takedowns in his debut against Lucas Dresky, who is not a high-level guy. And he lost that fight, right? He gassed out. He hunted for takedowns. Yeah. He got tired. He has no striking. It seems to have a better chin than Johnny, is what we've seen. But Junior Tafa, who I think should be at 205, I don't think he's a natural heavyweight, but he's very fast, very athletic. He took the fight against Peizao on or De Lima, on 24 hours notice. Got his legs kick off, which I didn't like coming from a kickboxer, because De Lima isn't the fastest guy in the world. You couldn't read these kicks. You got your legs chopped off. It soured me a little bit because Junior Tafa was the heir apparent to Justin Tafa. Justin Tafa didn't have the greatest kickboxing record. Junior Tafa has fought high-level guys. Now he's in MMA. Hopefully he's working on takedown defense. Hopefully he's working on the get-up game, because even if I think Walter Walker takes you down, I don't think he has much. And a lot of the guys he beat outside the UFC, I think, are a little... But I do see the value in Walker at +110. You're getting a guy who, a grappler, a big grappler who can just lay on somebody for 3 rounds. We get a boring decision win. Someone put in the chat, Walker by decision +250. I don't hate that line at all.
What's the weight difference in the two of them? Do we know that? What is?
I can tell you what. I can just tell you their last weigh-ins here. So Walter Walker weighed in at 265 pounds his last time out, and Junior Tafa weighed in at 240. But that was on 24-hour notice. 200.
Yeah, but he probably didn't even cut weight.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, there's no, and he's smaller than his brother. I know those Samoan Polynesian guys, they're thick bones. They got wide hips, big legs. Hard for those guys to cut weight. They're bigger than they appear. Like Tai Tuivasa. I saw Tai Tuivasa 15 feet from me. I'm like, that guy's not a big dude, right? But he weighs in at 265. He's just thick. Everything's thick on him. But I just think Junior Tafa, I'm going to go with him. I'm going to play him by knockout as well. And probably early as well. I think Junior Tafa has to catch him early because I think if Walker gets into his rhythm, I mean, it could be a 3rd round knockout now that I'm talking myself out of it with like Walker getting tired or something like that, you know. But I do think Tafa's going to win, and I think if it gun to my head, I'm going early. I'm going Tafa by knockout. All right, main card. In this fight, besides the main event, I mean, the whole main card I'm excited about, but I'm really excited about this fight. The Leech. Plus 285. I know that is gonna move against Carlos Prates minus 360. I'll get mine out of the way real quick. I'm high on Prates. He is a cigarette smoker, which is interesting. on the embeddeds, his relationship with his mother was absolutely adorable. I loved his mom. Instantly became a fan of his mom. So I'm rooting for this guy. He's been around forever. He's got long, rangy weapons. Body shots are phenomenal. He gets hit a little too much. The Leech has been off for a little bit. He's 36 years old, coming off a pretty bad neck injury. And he's hittable as well, but he's got that Drew Dober chin. He's never been knocked out before. He's only been finished by submission. But this is going to be a fucking banger here, and it's going to be who falls first, right? And I just think the Leech, with his age and coming off an injury, yes, he hits hard. He is hittable. I think he's going to have a hard time with the distance. I like Prates here. At minus 360 and let's see, minus 375 now. And I like him so much that I slimed him up. That's slime ball cannon number 1 right there on Carlos Prates. I like this dude. It's a little steep for the slime ball at minus 360, but like I'm very confident in this pick. I played him on the Anakin Florian as well. I think, how much did I put on him on the Anakin Florian? Let me check my notes. He was the most. I went 500. I went 500 on him. So yeah, I'm pretty confident. So Evan, do you like the Leech?
Yeah.
I mean, the Leech is a hard guy not to root for. Do you like him?
Yeah, no, I like him. But I mean, Prates is riding an 11 fight win streak. I just think it's hard to slow that momentum, especially the Leech coming off of injury. Yeah. Dude, I really like Prates' striking. I like the way he uses his teeth. I like the way he keeps distance. Nasty knees inside. Like it's gonna be. This is blasphemous.
Let me quick story about this. My guy Tim Mitchell is a buddy of mine. Does a show with me years ago. Me, him, and another guy who shall not be named did a show, and we both. Timbo was like, the Leech is this is many years ago. He's like, Leech is he's no good. And we both defended the Leech like he was a future world champion. That obviously has not come to fruition. So every time Timbo, the Leech fights, he lets me know that, I picked the dead horse.
When you pick against him. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I think the momentum's in Prates' favor. Obviously the number does, the number is a big number, but I think he shows up. First time on a pay-per-view, I'm assuming main card. Yeah. He should. I mean, he's probably going to try and finish the fight too, I would imagine. Like we were saying at the beginning of the card, like these Aussie New Zealand fight cards pretty much always pay off, man. Dudes are looking for finishes. The crowds are normally into it, and so I imagine by the time that main card kicks off, there's going to be some electricity in that building, and Prates is going to be the one that's right behind Buff saying we are live. Like he's gonna go out there and try and get a finish. Sure.
Yeah. I always say, like, listen, I bleed red, white, and blue. But the Australian fans, pound for pound, I get a ton of them that DM me. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple Australians in the chat. Pound for pound, they're the best MMA fans. The main card kicks off Sunday morning at 6:30 a.m. there. I definitely would be in attendance if that was my situation. But these guys are ravenous.
6 a.m.
6. Yeah, they're 12 hours ahead of us. So they do it Sunday morning for theirs.
Wow.
So it's prime time us. They don't cater to their audience. They don't cater to England's audience. The only time they adjust times is when it's in the Middle East because of the amount of money in Abu Dhabi. That's usually midday stuff. But I love the Australian fans. They're unbelievable. I think you're right. I think the energy in that place when Bruce cuts into this, we are live main card in Prates and on paper, it's unbelievable. I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it. The only thing I will say about Prates that's putting a little doubt in me is he got to Perth really late. Australia, or from Sao Paulo, Brazil to Perth, I looked it up, how long the flight time is, and it said 1 day plus like 3 hours or whatever. He got there a little late, man. That's a journey. But this is
late,
also guys,
meaning what? 2
like
days ago,
I didn't
3
think
days ago?
I didn't think he got there till like Tuesday of this week.
Okay,
Most guys get out there a week in advance or whatever. And when you're coming that far away and you're competing, but this is also a guy that hammers cigarettes. You know, he don't give a fuck about time zone. He's probably not going to sleep the whole week. He don't care.
No.
He's a different kind of animal. But no, I'm gonna rock with Prates. But again, I wish he would have got there a little. But again, he's making only so much money. It's not like he can go out there and get a house and get a Airbnb like some of these other high paid guys do. So, you know,
imagine you pay Prates minus 375 and he's walking out with a cigarette. How confident do you feel? How confident do you feel?
I would take my DraftKings bank account and I'd put it all on him. You know what I mean? That's a dude that
100%, dude.
I mean, Quentin Rampage Jackson used to smoke back in the Pride days. It's funny. There's a handful of guys that still do. There's a lot of local Cincinnati fighters who a couple never really made it to the show or whatever, but I would be so surprised. Like professional fighters, 11-0, they're on the brink of either Bellator or UFC. This is many years ago. And we'd be out at a bar and they're just hammered, drunk,
smashing heaters,
looking for coke and looking for anything. And I'm like, yeah, this is a professional fighter here. What the fuck? I thought you treat your body like a temple, man. It was crazy. All right, we're moving on. I'm glad we're both on Prates. Another heavyweight banger here. Tai Tuivasa plus 160 against Jairzinho Rozenstruik minus 192. Silent Rob said, "What up, TB fan here? Miss you big time, my man."
You.
Tampa Bay fan, of course. Joe Schilling's another guy that smokes. That's right. Thank you, Tatum. So we got the big boys here, and I'm gonna let you go because I feel like I'm talking too much.
No, you're good. Well, you're the smart man. You're the guy that people sign on to see. So, but I can kick it off if you want.
Go ahead, because I'm
here,
pausing on this fight. You go ahead.
Yeah, this fight right here. I mean, my heart says Tuivasa. Of course, you know, I think everybody, you know, like the Leech, like Tuivasa is just a guy who's so easy to root for. You know, win or loss, like they're always exciting fights. It seems like he's always laying it on the line, and he's always like humble in defeat or victory. You know, so easy guy to root for. Rozenstruik, he looked great in his last fight. You know, he fought Shamil Gadziev, I think, the big Russian guy, Dagestani guy.
Yeah,
just kind of picked him apart. You know, and through, I think it was a main event, so it was probably 5 rounds. It seemed like through 2.5 rounds, he kind of Gadziev just kind of quit on it, and I think he got a 4th round finish out of that. So he's looked good, but. I mean, I'm going to go with my heart on this one. I want Tai to win bad. Yeah. I want Tai to win for the country because, I mean, just imagine the scene if he wins. Imagine how many shoes are going to be getting thrown at him for him to do shoeies after the fight if he wins the fight. And I want to see that bad. So I'm hoping that it's Tai always seems like he's a guy it's a 1st or 2nd round finish, right? Like it win or lose. Like he's gonna get in some crazy firefight early, and hopefully he gets into the pocket, and Jairzinho's not able to get in and out like he did on Gadziev, and he can catch him with a good, you know, with something inside and put him out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'm not a shoey guy. I don't mind drinking beer out of a shoe, but when you spit in it. And that makes it a shoey. When I did the shoey on Anakin Florian, people in the comments were like, bro, you didn't spit in it. And I'm like, oh, I don't even want to, whatever. But I agree with you. My heart's with Tuivasa. I picked Tuivasa early in the week. I have since bounced back and forth. I've rewatched a couple of tapes because Tuivasa's on a 4-fight winning or losing streak, but he's fighting high level guys. Before that, it was a 5-fight winning streak where he looked good. He knocked out Derek Lewis. And he was in Dubai for most of that. He had a training camp centered around him. Then he went back to Australia a little bit. And this guy likes to fuck around and partake in quite a few different things outside the UFC. But he's back in Dubai now. I didn't think he was. I thought he stayed in Australia. I saw the embedded that he got in from Dubai. He looks to be in good shape. His face, you know, everything looks healthy. And he is explosive. And he's explosive early in. Rozenstruik just doesn't throw enough, right? This is a guy that's got that death touch. He can touch you and sleep anybody, but he just lackluster in there, and he just doesn't throw enough volume. And you know, Tai is super athletic for his build. I mean, he's not you take his shirt off, you're like, oh, here's this guy, you know, doesn't look anything, but he's actually quick, athletic, and if he uses that and surprises Jairzinho, you know, and jumps on him early, I like it. Kind of like what he did with Derek Lewis as well. He's going to have to take a shot. And that's the thing that I worry about is he's been put out a lot of times, and heavyweights' chins are unforgiving. You lose your chin to heavyweight earlier than most. So I'm a little worried about that, but I'm going to go with Ty as well. I like the plus money on top of all the emotions, and I want to see him do his shoey. I want to see him blow the fucking roof off the place.
Oh, it would go crazy.
Him by KO is I looked it up this morning. That's a number I'm going to play as well. So he's plus 180, which is a great number, and him by KO plus 250. I mean, that's a great, and then him by KO round 1 plus 450. So there's a lot of plus monies out there to be had.
Yeah, that's some good numbers right there.
Some juice. I like the juice. Yeah, for sure. Next fight, one of the fan favorites, Mateusz Gamrot, minus or Mateusz, excuse me, not Mateusz. Mateusz Gamrot, minus 340-ish. Trin will give us an updated line versus Dan Hooker, plus 210. I'll go first because this is my Green Hammer play of the week. I'm picking Gamrot. I want to pick Dan Hooker so bad. I love the new tattoos. I love his mental. I love that he's been in camp with all the studs, but I can't. I think Gamrot is just this weird guy that is going to win fights when you don't expect him to win fights. His style is tough to beat. His motor, his chin, his grappling, it's going to give Dan Hooker problems. However, Gamrot's my pick. Not sliming him, not going to lock him up. But the Green Hammer, which is a prop play I give out, this point spread on Dan Hooker, plus 3.5, plus 100. Dan Hooker's going to win a round. Dan Hooker's going to land a knee and hurt Gamrot, and he's going to win a round on one of those judges' scorecards, guaranteed, and you're putting plus money on it. Give me Dan Hooker with the Green Hammer, plus 3.5 point spread. I like that a lot. That's plus money. I think Dan Hooker's coming to fight. I think he's going to win a round. But overall, I think Gamrot's going to get it done. Minus 345 is a little higher than I would like to play. That's why I'm not sliming him up or anything. But again, I think Gamrot is just one of those guys. But my heart's rooting for Hooker. Unlike Tuivasa, where I could get there and play him, I can't get there with Hooker. What do you think? This is the fight that I was trying to figure out who you were going to pick, right? And I do that with Kenny as well. This one left me, I don't know. So take it away.
Well, let me just read off Gamrot's Sherdog page real quick.
Sure.
He's won 8 of his last 9.
Yeah.
Beats Jeremy. I mean, he's 9 of his last 10, really, I think. 8 of his last 9. Beats Jeremy Stevens, beats Diego Ferreira, beats Arman Sarukian.
Yeah.
Loses to Benel Dariush, and then he beats Jalen Turner.
Yep.
Who lost to Dan Hooker. He beats Rafael Fiziev, who everybody had kind of crowned the next guy to take the division. Yeah. And then he beats the past champion legend, Rafael Dos Anjos. So, yes. I mean, this dude has an impressive resume. I love Dan Hooker. I think he's tough as shit. Broke his arm in his last fight against Jalen Turner and still won the fight. Just basically outdogged him. You know, just kind of broke Jalen Turner down to the point where he gave up at the end of that fight. I wouldn't say gave up, but you know,
he broke him down. Yeah, I mean, it was a war, and he won the war for sure.
So just based off of his last 5 fights, Mateusz Gamrot's last 5 fights, the competition level is fairly unmatched at the division. He's been tested. He's gone deep. He's gone. You know, he went 5 rounds with Arman, 3 rounds, 3 rounds, 2 rounds, 3 rounds. For all 4 of the 5 of them decisions. So he's been in deep water with some guys. I don't think that's going to be an issue with Dan Hooker, even if he drags him deep. He's going to have to take some shots probably early in the fight. But the chain wrestling is going to be too much. I'm really high on Mateusz Gamrot in this fight too. I don't think he loses. I think. You know, he's able to find a way in, and then I just think he's going to be too good of a wrestler for Dan Hooker.
Yeah. And I mean, really, realistically, Gamrot should only have 1 loss in UFC. I thought he beat Guram Kutalade in his debut. It was a weird decision fight. They gave the Guram. I thought Gamrot won. And if you look at Gamrot's resume outside before he came to the UFC, it's super fucking impressive. Just like Dricus du Plessis, his record outside the UFC, the people he beat outside the UFC, is super impressive. And that's why they come to the UFC and they're prepared. He got knocked around by Benil Dariush. I think he was a little surprised by Benil's power and his ability to stay on the feet. But other than that, Gamrot's an absolute fucking stud. I heard he's literally everyone's favorite training partner, American Top Team. I mean, he was in Poirier's corner against Islam. People love this dude. He's a worker. He seems like a great fighter. And again, I'd root for Dan Hooker. It should be a fun fight. And I want to clear something up. So everyone, like, you know, I don't get everything right. I'm not a fucking, you know, I got marbled in my mouth most of the time. I said on the Anthony Florian, I've been DM'd this. I've been million commented this. I said Gamrot knocked out Fiziev. I misspoke. Gamrot didn't knock out Fiziev. Fiziev hurt his knee, blew his knee out. Gamrot won by a TKO. I misspoke. I was referring to the knockout of Diego Ferrara in my head, but I said Fiziev. Either way, it's a win for Gamrot over Fiziev. But man, my slip up there, Evan, I mean, I'm sure you get this all the time. Fucking Christ, man. It was everyone, dude, BP, I love you, bro. But you got to start watching more tape. That would never happen. I misspoke. I'm sorry. I commented on the Anthony Florian page, on the YouTube page, saying, hey, guys, I'm sorry I misspoke. I realized that didn't happen. No one cared. No one cared. They just want to correct you.
That's okay.
It's all right. We're moving on. Co-main event, Steve Erceg, minus 162 versus Nicoll France. Plus 136. Fly Guy starting it off here. Steve Erceg made me a fan. His last time out, goddamn, he looked so good against Pantoja. A lot of people thought he won. Astro Boy is impressive since he's been in the UFC. He's been fast-tracked, and he's handled it well. He went from traveling a half across the world on short notice and went to Brazil and fought Pantoja and almost won. Like, this dude is unflappable. Absolute stud in Erceg, right? And you know, he doesn't have the appearance and the charisma or maybe the swag of what you would think a champion might have. You know, maybe this guy's Twitter followers or Instagram followers are going to blow through the roof, but this dude is a legit dude. He's gone up in price at minus 175 as well. I love Steve Erceg here. I put $500 on him on the Anthony Florian. I'm rocking with him here. Slimeball candidate number 2 as well. I think Nicoll France is dangerous, dude. I think his takedown defense is really good, but I think Erceg isn't like your traditional wrestler. He's going to create scrambles no matter what. He puts you on against a cage, he can jump on your back, and then you're creating a scramble. It's not really defending double legs and single legs. It's defending the scramble. And I just think Steve Erceg is that much better than the scrambles in Nicoll France. Nicoll France, also a smaller guy for the division, has good striking, is explosive, but tends to sit back a little bit, gets kicked apart a little bit. Moreno had success with body kicks on him, and Moreno and Erceg are about the similar size, like height and length wise. So I like Erceg picking him apart in the inside. Against the cage, I like him jumping for stuff, really creating scrambles where I think he's going to shine here. The only thing that concerns me is everyone's blowing smoke up his ass after the Pantoja fight, and if he's believing that too much. But if you watch one interview or one video of Steve Erceg, I don't think that's possible for him to believe his own hype. He seems like a pretty modest dude. He might even still live with his fucking parents. I don't know. There was the Countdown show, The Embedded, where I think he might live with his parents. Either way, I like Erceg here. Curious to get your thoughts, Evan. Who do you like?
Yeah, I mean, I went back and forth with this one a lot too, because I mean, Nicoll France was a guy who, you know, two fights ago, everybody had him on the fast track to, you know, to fighting. Who was it at the time? Probably Davison Figueiredo was the champ, I think, at the time. He was
matched up with Cop for the number one contenders, and he got concussed. And yeah, he's been a name up there.
Yeah, and I mean, he was probably legitimately one fight away from fighting for the belt when he fought Brandon Moreno, you know, and he did get pieced up by Moreno. He kicked him apart until he, you know, kicked him in the liver and shut him down. And then he lost to Amir Albazi, I think, his last fight. But
I think he won that fight. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument that, you know, this guy is top 3 in the division right now, you know, and it's really, this is also one of those fights that, like if I just didn't know one from the other, or let's just say Steve Erceg wasn't a New Zealander or an Australian guy, I would pick Nicoll France here for the plus money, without a doubt, because I think they're that close that, you know, the emotion or the adrenaline of the arena could sway it one way or the other. I think they're both very high level strikers. I don't really see. I don't see the scrambles lasting too long. This is a 3-round fight, right?
Right. I wish it was 5.
Yeah, so
you're right.
Yeah, I don't see this. I think they stay on the feet a good majority of the fight and crack. And I think Erceg is a little bit better on the feet. Nicoll France might have a little bit more power, you know, but I think the volume is going to favor Erceg. I think they fight on the feet the whole time, and I think that Erceg probably likely wins the decision, and because he's from there, there's
Yeah.
going to be
A little home cooking.
there's going to be people on both sides, right? Or
Sure.
maybe I don't know how, like, what's the relationship like between Aussie and New Zealand? I think they're cool, right? Like
my only note is Flight of the Conchords, right? Is those guys, the Flight of the Conchords, the HBO show, they're from New Zealand and they hate Australians. So like,
so maybe
but that's satire, so I don't really know what the relationship is. I know a lot of New Zealanders, when they're born in New Zealand, they typically move to Australia. That's just kind of what it is. No offense to New Zealand. I heard it's a beautiful place, but that's just,
But Steve Erceg is from Perth. We talked about this before before the pods or before the live started.
Yeah.
One of two fighters from Perth, him and Jack
Yeah.
Della. But yeah, dude, home cooking. He's regardless of the loss, I think, like you said, I think he has Astro Boy has a lot of people in his corner telling him he's the guy, and regardless of if he believes that or not, I still think he has momentum, even though he lost his last fight.
Yeah.
And it was also a fight that I think a lot of people looked at and went, why the hell is this guy fighting for the belt?
Yeah.
Then at the end of the fight, I think a lot of people were like, holy shit, he might have won that fight, or like he deserved to be in there. So I think momentum is on his side as well. He's going to be at home. I wouldn't go so far as making it my mortal lock of the whole thing, but I do think he gets it done, and potentially not really that close. 2 rounds to 1.
Okay,
two rounds to 1, but unanimous. I think is probably likely.
Nice. Yeah, real funny story about Kai Kara-France. He fought Columbus 2 years ago, and I was in tennis the first time I met John Anik. I was already on the podcast. I met John, and John told me a story that Kai fought in Columbus, won, and had that crowd eating the palm of his hand. People loved him, right? And Burrow was there, and Burrow was in the back and met Kai, and Burrow's a huge MMA fan. He was like, hey, man, we should come out, get you out to a game. And Kai's like, yeah, cool, great. And they grabbed a picture together, and then Kai looked at someone in the UFC and was like, who was that?
Who was that guy?
No clue. Like, this dude watches rugby. He doesn't give a fuck about, football players. So that was very, very funny. But yeah, listen, great breakdown. I love it. Main event time. God, I'm excited about this. These boys do not like each other. And Izzy looks motivated. Izzy minus 135 versus Dricus du Plessis plus 114. That's an old line. Trend will update the new lines. I'll set the scene. I'm going to let you go first, Evan. I'm going to set the scene here. They were supposed to fight. They got in the cage. Izzy said, you're not my, everyone's seen that. They were supposed to fight. Dricus said, no, I hurt my foot. I'm not fighting. People dogged him a little bit. Like, what are you doing? Your foot, whatever. Strickland got the shot. Strickland dog walked Izzy. Izzy did not look good in that fight at all. And then Strickland fought du Plessis to a very, very close fight. I actually thought du Plessis won the fight. I know a lot of people thought maybe Strickland did. This line is super close. Du Plessis is now not plus money. He's minus 102. Izzy minus 118. Ton of movement, ton of two-way action on this. I love this main event. Izzy's motivated. First, the longest layoff in his UFC career. He's looking thick. He's looking jacked. Dan Hooker said this is the healthiest he's ever been. Obviously motivated maybe to get that belt back, be the first 3-time middleweight champion in UFC history. A lot on the line. Obviously kind of a hometown crowd for him. Obviously he's huge everywhere, but especially in Australia. So is it and still or is it and new, Evan Longoria?
Yeah, I watched a little thing on Instagram before this too, and I don't know if you saw it. It was pretty interesting. It was an interview, questions that somebody asked Dricus du Plessis about Izzy and how he said he was talking about when he watched the fight between Izzy and Strickland. He thought, I just thought that Izzy just had an off night. I thought that for one reason or another, he just wasn't his night. And then he said, after I fought Sean Strickland, I understood what happened. Mm-hmm. That Sean Strickland is not an easy guy to hit. Yeah. And Izzy is a counterpuncher by nature. Mm-hmm. And he understood that all of the shots that Izzy was directing at Sean couldn't get home. They weren't getting there, and it was more that Strickland was able to implement his game plan against Izzy as opposed to, Izzy just having an off night. Right. So he gave a lot of credit to Strickland, but also kind of alluded to the fact that Izzy is not a volume puncher, and Dricus is a volume puncher, and that's why he was able to beat Strickland, and that's kind of what he believes he's going to be able to do to Izzy, kind of implement his will, move forward, strike for takedowns, wear Izzy out, and kind of do the same thing that he did, really to Robert Whittaker, essentially, but to Strickland as well. I don't know if he'll be able to get takedowns as easy against Izzy, because historically his takedown defense has been really good. But yeah, man, I went back and forth with this one. I didn't even circle. I had the whole sheet written out, and I had a lot. Like, I went down the list without even looking at odds and breakdowns and stuff, and just like circled names. And I really haven't flip flopped, but maybe one or two of them. This one I didn't circle any names because I didn't know. Izzy was so active for so long and defended for so long. I think he's only fought. He's the second or third longest guy in terms of, like, all of his fights have been for the title. You know, I think it was John Jones 16, somebody else 13, and him like 12. His last 12.
He's only been in the UFC 5 years too. It's crazy.
So it's really, really hard to pick against a guy like that who has the kind of mental belief in himself that Izzy does, because I have a ton of respect for that. Also, I have a ton of respect for his ability, to be able to come back after all of the shit happened with Pereira and then just knock him out like he did, kind of slay those demons. Like, the dude is a flat out stud without a doubt. But I'm going to take Dricus. I think that he's going to use that. I think he has motivation coming from a lot of different ways. Obviously, the beef that they have, the Africa beef going back and forth. Also, his first chance to defend the belt. He's not far from home, whether it feels like a home game for him or not. He's not far from home. And I just think that that championship, 30% better thing is going to be a real thing for him. And I heard somebody say it earlier on something that I saw on Instagram about if he beats Izzy, Dricus will be a long time champion in this division, because there's not much behind Izzy, and maybe Izzy fights him again at some point, but this also could be a one and done for him, right? Like, maybe he gets the belt back and just decides not to fight anymore. And if he loses, maybe he steps away and doesn't really want to climb that mountain again. So I think it's kind of a make or break fight for both guys. And I just feel like Dricus has the motivation, has the technical ability, and just the drive to get it done.
Yeah, listen, you broke that down perfectly. I love Izzy. If you asked me maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, who my favorite fighter was, it was Izzy. It's hard to have a favorite fighter when I'm now on like a big show like Anik and I got to pick against people. I've never picked against Izzy, ever. I've always picked him. I've lost the most money ever in my life. My units are $100. I lost $600, 6-unit play, and I'm not a big multi-unit player. On Izzy versus Blachowicz. And I've been so negative about Dricus du Plessis. I would have bet my life savings on Robert Whittaker piecing him up. I saw Dricus fight live against Aaron Till in Vegas in front of my eyes, and I thought he looked average. It was weird, but I went back and looked at, he's getting better, obviously. I looked at a lot of his stuff, and it's unorthodox. It's not the cleanest, and I'm a striking guy. I really critique striking, and it's not the cleanest in the world. It's actually kind of not great to watch, if we're being honest, but it's effective to what he does. His rhythm is off. His timing's different. He's a bulldozer in there. He's a big, thick guy from 185 as well. He mixes everything so well. He'll walk through your stuff to land his stuff. And he has unique power. He has a ton of finishes by hand. He actually has a ton of finishes by guillotine choke as well. And I'm going to poke a little bit at, I wish it was a higher number. I just checked on DraftKings. Dricus du Plessis by submission is only plus 600. I think I'm going to go a little, $25 on that, because I can see a scramble happening and he take his neck. Dricus guillotine is nasty. Again, I wish the number was like 12-1, but we'll play that. But I thought you were going Izzy for sure. I'm picking Dricus du Plessis. He's in my slime ball parlay as well. That's a third candidate right there. I just feel like I've seen Izzy in interviews, and maybe he's hyper focused in a lot of things, but I also feel like he's kind of phoning it in. I don't know how motivated he really is. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. And Jenkins doesn't seem any pressure. He seems happy to be there. It seems like he like knows something. Like I know I'm gonna dominate this guy. You know what I mean? And I kind of fucking love that mentality. It was like Bilal when he fought Leon. I mean, Bilal's dancing before he gets in there, and the whole lead up, he knew he's gonna do what he did to Leon. I get that same vibe from Jenkins here. I think Jenkins is a tank of a dude, and Izzy struggled with an unorthodox, weird Sean Strickland. I think he'll struggle with a guy like Jenkins. I think Izzy, best case to win, kick the legs and move forward, but that's not really his style. You're right, he is a counterpuncher, and Jenkins is aggressive as well, so you can counter on him, but I think Jenkins might be too much. And I hate picking against Izzy. I've never done it. I love the guy. I got a poster right here where I saw him fight in Atlanta against Kelvin Gastelum. All-time favorite fight. Best pay-per-view in all time, in my opinion. But I'm going Jenkins du Plessis. And I thought you were going Izzy, man. You snuck one in there.
Yeah, I was close. I really was. I just because of the victory, obviously coming back from, losing to Pereira all those times, and being able to do that. I just think the momentum is too much in Dricus's favor right now, and he's just fighting so well.
I agree. All right, so real quick before Evan and I get to our locks, I'm going to give you my slime ball parlay. It's Jenkins du Plessis. I see the chat not loving it. I get it, but I want to risk it a little bit. Jenkins du Plessis, Steve Erceg, and Carlos Prates. That's plus 303. I placed this yesterday. Obviously, the lines are going to be moving, so you might get a different number. But Jenkins du Plessis, DDP, Steve Erceg, and Carlos Prates is the slime ball parlay. Green Hammer, Dan Hooker, plus 3.5 for plus 100. I love that play as well. Evan, you're the guest. You're the man. I'll let you pick first. You got a mortal lock you can pick. You got a dog lock you can pick first, or send them home. What's the
do you get to pick? Do you get to pick the same person, or you?
I can't. So you get to pick. Okay. So if you pick a mortal lock, whoever it is, I can't pick that person. So it's same thing with the dog and send them. So I got to pick someone different. So I'll let you go first. Whoever you want. The board is yours.
I'm going to go with, which is a guy that I know that you would go with if you had first pick. I'm going to take Mateusz Gamrot as the mortal lock.
Okay. All right. Mortal lock.
I think the number is pretty good too for a mortal lock, like minus 375. I think it comes down a little bit, but
yeah, your breakdown on that and your confidence in that makes me really confident in that. Like, I'm going to leave here this podcast and lay in bed because I got to wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to be on my phone going, Evan was really confident in Gamrot. Maybe I should put maybe I should build something around Gamrot. I love the confidence. I love that play. Mortal lock, Mateusz Gamrot. I'm going to go mortal lock, Carlos Prates. I mean, the cig smoking son of a bitch is going to get it done, in my opinion. I love Carlos Prates in the spot. All right, so you either get dog lock or send them home, whatever one you want. The dogs you got, by the way, are Ty Tuivasa. You got Casey O'Neill. And you got Jesus Aguilar.
She got Dricus du Plessis in there too, if you want.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to stretch it's a pick 'em. I'll give it to you. Yeah. I'll give it to you.
No. I'm gonna pick the send him home, and I'm gonna take Jack Jenkins.
Jack Jenkins, send him home. That's a nice one.
Yeah,
that's a nice one. Now you can double down. I mean, it doesn't apply for your dog, but if you want to put someone else as you can do mortal lock, send him home. But I just can't take that fighter.
Yeah, I flirted with Tafa in that spot too, the send him home spot, because we talked about it in the breakdown. But if I'm trying to really hit a winner, I think Jack Jenkins is a close, a better bet to get a finish.
I agree with you. I agree. I think he's gonna chop Herbert Burns up. I still think Herbert Burns is a very good fighter. I'm having a hard time deciding between two guys here. I'm gonna get a little more bang for my buck. I'm gonna go Ty Tuivasa. Send them home, bub. Little underdog, send them home. Knockout. I think it was plus 250. I like that. I'll take that. All right, dog lock. You get to go first again. Dog lock. Who do you like here, bud?
I'm going to take Jesus Aguilar.
Nice.
As a dog lock here. First fight of the night. Again, we broke it down. I think that, we're hoping that the experience plays for him, and there's some nerves in the hometown debut for old Stewie Nicoll.
Yeah, and that's almost a 2-1 dog lock. I love it. I'm gonna play, since I know chicks, Casey O'Neill, baby. BP knows chicks, and he's gonna lock her up, and she's gonna win by a decision. I like that. I tell you what, I wish I could keep stats of it. But anytime I pick Anakin Florian early in the week and I do my own show and I switch a pick, which I don't do often, But every time I do, I want to know what that winning percentage is. I think it's probably pretty good. I could be making that up. I don't know. All right, listen, Evan, you're an absolute fucking stud. Thank you for joining this little show of mine. You're unbelievable. Thank you for the support as well. I mean, you reached out to me via the Anakin Florian, and we became buddies, and we're texting, and we obviously met at the Reds game, and I can't wait to catch a fight with you and Adam one of these days, brother. Thank you so much for doing
100%, man.
Yeah,
absolutely. I hope everybody can win some money off of the picks, man. That's the goal of this, right? We're in it for the fun, but we're in it for the money as well. So
absolutely,
I'm watching footage on my phone when I'm at my kids' volleyball practice for a reason. So it's just to win money.
I tell people all the time, like people probably in their head like, oh, he's getting Evan Longoria on his show so he can get views. You know, he's getting the fucking, the stud baseball player on this to get views. Yes. Also, the dude knows so much about, like, I love talking to like-minded people. It's really hard to find people that love the sport as much as like you do. And of course, this is my life. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So it's unbelievable. You're a great guy. Thank you so much for coming on, bud. I appreciate it. And everyone in the chat, you guys are the best. Let's win some money, babe. Huh?
Fuck yeah, baby. Let's do it.
I'll see you, Ev. Thanks,
see you
buddy.
Guys. All right, brother. Thank you.